Welcome to our monthly Community Coalition meeting. I am Tracy Parsons. I facilitate this group each month. I like to say this is we have to stay away from the screen. I have to remember that. We missed last month, so I have to remind myself of all the rules, but this is the greatest meeting each month in the city of Champaign, Urbana, and Champaign County, right? So welcome everybody, all right? All right, round of applause. Welcome everyone. All right, so first timers, welcome, welcome, and welcome. Let's give our first timers another round of applause. Mayor, I'm not putting you in timeout, but there's a seat right up here for you. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump right in the program. Each month, we discuss, hear about all the great work that's taking place in our community. So Moms Demands Action is going to start us off, and Katie Madigan is here. Let's give her a round of applause.
I'm here to talk about a part of Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund and part of Moms Demand Action. Be Smart is a program that was developed by this group. I'm Katie Madigan. I'm an Urbana resident and a Be Smart volunteer presenter. So I'm grateful to be here with you today to discuss the life-saving message of secure gun storage. Before we begin, we're going to take a moment to agree on a few things that are important to the Be Smart message. One, we all want kids to grow up happy and healthy. Two, we each have the right to make responsible decisions about how to protect our homes, families, and communities, including whether or not to have a gun in our home. Three, if we can prevent even one child gun death or injury, it's our responsibility to do so. And we're not here to talk about laws or policies, so we're going to set those aside. Be Smart is a program to bring together all adults concerned about kids, guns, and safety. Before I begin talking, we are going to talk about some stories of gun violence and suicide, and we know that living through those experiences is devastating. Hearing about them can be difficult as well. If you need to step away during the session to care for yourself, please do so. I will share this resource slide again at the end of the session, and you can seek additional support if needed. We have to break the silence around suicide. Here are some important resources to write down or take a picture of in case you or someone you care about needs help. We have lots of materials and resources with more information about how to get help if you do recognize these and other warning signs, and it includes the Suicide Prevention Hotline. It is a heartbreaking fact that in the U.S., firearms are the leading cause of death for children. This is a public health crisis. Nearly 2,100 children under the age of 18 are killed with guns every year, an average of 6 children every day. When children are killed with guns, the majority of those deaths, nearly 60%, are homicides. That's nearly 1,200 children per year. Additionally, more than 700 children die by firearm suicide each year, and more than 100 are unintentionally shot and killed. We're here today to talk about how we can prevent tragedies like that. A shocking 4.6 million children in the U.S. live in a household with at least one loaded, unlocked gun. While school shootings and mass shootings typically make national headlines, almost all child unintentional shooting deaths occur in the home. And the Secret Service found that 3/4 of school shooters acquired their firearm from the home of a parent or close relative. So this is an important issue, and it's emotional, and we all come from different walks of life. Many of us are parents, some may be gun owners, some may not be, and some of us may have had a personal experience with guns. Some may have been impacted by gun violence. We believe that most gun owners want to be responsible gun owners, so we're here today to talk about what all of us, gun owners and non-gun owners alike, can do to make sure children and teens do not have unsupervised access to guns. This slide shows a few headlines from across the country. Although we know many incidents go unreported, behind each headline are real lives that have been impacted by gun violence. We also know that this is not just a national problem, it's an Illinois problem, and it's a central Illinois problem, even more specifically. These are just 4 of many news articles from our community and the surrounding areas, and there's probably been tens, if not dozens more, since I created this slide a year ago. So we can all take action in our homes and in our communities to keep our kids safe. So even if you don't have a gun in your home, or you do and you know that you've already been practicing secure gun storage, what can you do right now? Together we can learn to be smart. It's an acronym. So we're going to start with S. S stands for Secure Your Guns in Homes and Vehicles. 13 million households with children contain at least one gun, and the majority of children in gun-owning households actually know where the gun is stored. So what do I mean by securing guns? A gun should always be stored securely, which means they are inaccessible to kids, and make sure children are never in the presence of unsecured guns. We have to remember that hiding a gun is not securing a gun. We get lots of specific questions about what secure storage looks like in practice. Here are some examples. Contrary to popular belief, locking up guns does not prevent gun owners from readily accessing their guns. There's a common myth that storage devices negate the self-defense purpose of owning a gun, but putting time-consuming barriers between the gun owner and their means of defense. The reality is there are many affordable options for secure gun storage that provide owners with access to guns in a matter of seconds while still preventing access by children and people at increased risk of harming themselves or others. Further, it is possible that unsecured guns may actually increase the likelihood of crime and violence through an increased risk of gun theft. Did you know that at least 2 guns are stolen every 15 minutes? It's important to also remember to lock up any guns in cars. More than half of stolen guns are taken from cars. Just putting a gun under your seat or in the glove compartment wouldn't be considered secure storage. There are car gun lock boxes available for purchase at many retail and sporting goods stores. Here are 3 additional gun storage options in various price points. Cable locks are often available for free. I have an example here. This one I got from a company or an organization out of Colorado called bigwavesinc.org. And if you go to their website, you can get 1 gun lock for free, make a donation to pay it forward to other people to get for free. The M stands for model responsible behavior. Every law-abiding adult has the right to decide whether or not to have a gun in the home. But you can't rely on curious kids not to find them. Kids know where their parents store their guns, and more than 1/3 reported handling the parents' guns, many doing so without the knowledge of their parents. Nearly 1/4 of parents did not know that their children had handled the gun in their house. It is always an adult's responsibility to prevent unauthorized access to guns, not a curious child's responsibility to avoid them. Talk to your kids about gun safety, but remember that that's a precaution and not a guarantee. One study found that young children who go through a week-long gun safety training are just as likely as children with no training to approach or play with a handgun if they find one. Modeling responsible behavior means that smart adults make sure that kids don't have the opportunity to access guns. That said, you can't control the environment your child is in all the time. So you should teach them not to touch a gun if they come across one, real or pretend, and give them the tools to get out of a dangerous situation and to alert an adult. As an adult, it's your responsibility to do everything you can to prevent them from getting in a dangerous situation to begin with. The A stands for ask. So as we've mentioned, there are approximately 4.6 million US children living in a household with at least 1 loaded unlocked gun. So that's why you need to ask about firearms in other homes your child visits, the A in SMART. So parents and caretakers in the room, sometimes when your child goes to another place, you might ask about what are some pets in the home? Is there a pool on the property? Who will be home for the play date? What's the children's access to alcohol, TV and screen time? Asking about guns in the home should be just as natural as asking about any other safety issue. If it seems awkward at first, try making it part of your general safety conversation. You might try asking via email or text if you're uncomfortable at first. So let's talk about recognizing the role of guns in suicide, the R. Access to a gun can mean the difference between life and death. It's important to consider that firearm suicide is uniquely lethal. 90% of suicide attempts using a gun end in death, and half of suicides in the US are gun suicides, a much higher fatality rate than any other means of self-harm. 70% of people who survive a suicide attempt will never attempt suicide again. We also know that 42% of child suicides involve a gun. As our children get older, you may need to consider taking another look at your storage methods. If you've been using a simple cable lock, you may want to think about getting a gun safe. We all know how curious children can be, so as they get older and more resourceful, you'll have to act accordingly. Also, if you know your loved one is in distress, you might want to consider temporarily removing a gun from your home. So if you consider temporarily removing a gun from your home, how can you do that? Where can you bring it? Local law enforcement may be willing to temporarily store your guns. Some licensed gun dealers or gun ranges may be willing to store your guns, or you could store them in the home of a family or friend. But to manage risk for that friend or family member, you should lock any guns that you transfer and not provide the key or code. Depending on the law in your state, the person agreeing to store your guns may first need to get a background check at a gun dealer or through law enforcement. The National Youth Survey conducted by the CDC showed that 20% of high school students had seriously considered attempting suicide within the last year. One study showed that 41% of adolescents in gun-owning households report having easy access to the guns in their home. As we discussed earlier, research shows that secure firearm storage is associated with a decreased risk of child firearm suicide. Here's this slide again. Important resources to write down or take a picture in case you or someone you care about needs help. Just take note of the 988 suicide and crisis lifeline. If you're a survivor of gun violence, we can connect you to the Everytown Survivor Network. The Everytown Survivor Network is a nationwide community of survivors working together to end gun violence. The Survivor Network connects survivors to each other, amplifies the power of survivor voices, offers trauma-informed programs, provides information on direct services, and supports survivors who choose to become advocates. So the last letter, T, tell. That is the power of being smart. So how will you commit to be smart today? Sharing the Be Smart message, the way we will save lives, is by spreading awareness. So I'd love for you to take just a few moments and think about who you are going to tell to be smart today. You can text a friend while you're here, or think of 3 organizations that you think should hear this message and share them with me. This is my contact information. I'm the local Be Smart lead, as well as we have a state Be Smart leads, and you can contact us for future presentations or working with our Be Smart campaign. You can also text SMART to 64433 to be connected to our local group. And one thing I just wanted to mention is that we have our next meeting of our Champaign County Moms Demand Action will be focused on the Be Smart training, and that is next Wednesday, October 18th at the Champaign Public Library at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, great information. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We often talk, obviously, about our gun violence crisis, so thank you for the work that you're doing, and I hope we heard the important message about telling, talking. I really enjoyed the part about our kids and where they're going, and talking with that household and connecting so that you're aware of where your children are going, who's going to be there, how things are conducted, and just great information. So we're going to bring our Stop the Violence folks up. We introduced this group at our last meeting and the work they're doing, working with our veterans. So Bobby Nicole, come on up.
Use the mic.
Good afternoon. We are here again, and we have some news to report. My name is Nicole Massey, and I'm with the Stop the Violence Veterans Mental Health Initiative. And we will finally launch our first event on December 2, 2023. And the event is from 1 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. at the Rantoul Business Center. This event is open for veterans, community stakeholders, and family members. We will provide childcare and transportation. So if there are veterans in Champaign County, please reach out when you register, and we will take care of possible transportation issues. We have flyers in the back. So if you want to grab a couple of flyers, distribute them, give them to veterans that you know. This is the most important news as it comes to our initiative. And I just want to catch up on what was said when it comes to gun violence and suicide. The suicide rate among veterans is significantly higher than among non-veterans. This is a problem that we see, and the mental health issues have increased, especially when the world is a little bit in turmoil, as we currently see. So this initiative really comes at a great time. I'm going to pass it on to Robbie Walker, and he can give a little more information about this event.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is our second time coming before you, and we appreciate the opportunity. It's a great venue to get the word out on events. To piggyback on what Nicole said, there's 4 of us in our group. So it's Nicole, myself, Bishop Byron Smith, and Mrs. Grace Walton. So the 4 of us will be presenting this training, education, dealing with trauma and trauma-informed care, seeking safety. It'll be a quarterly mental health and PTSD training, areas of focus, post-traumatic stress, substance abuse. In addition, trust-based relationship intervention, increased self-worth, making sense of your worth. We will try to build a peer support group with leadership skills, with the capacity of the veterans, and to help facilitate peer support, as well as the veterans' families. And we will also provide or put together a community advisory board representing the Veterans Administration and other partners. Will be convened on a regular basis to guide the implementation of the evaluation of the program. So we're hoping for success, and when we presented last time, it was great interaction. So we know there's a need. We presented to the Champaign County board 3 times, maybe 4. But it is a program that's well needed. So if you know a veteran or veterans' family members, because sometimes the veteran may not come out, but the family member may need that help. So we are seeking, the community to participate and get the word out for us. We appreciate you, Tracy, for allowing us to come out.
I thank the veterans that came out to the Champaign County Board meeting and presented their really heart-touching stories. I'm rarely speechless, but after listening to 8 veterans share their stories very openly and their struggles, I was very speechless, and it took me quite some time to process it, but it also showed the need in the community. And their courage to speak up was important. And I hope it will transfer to this event, and especially, again, the family members. Please come with or without the veteran if you think that information is needed, or if you're just seeking a place where you can be among people that experience the same issues. and we can create a support group for each other. Thank you.
As you can see, we're trying to keep the mic from Tracy, but what I'd like to do, which I normally do at every event, I'd like for the veterans to please stand, be recognized.
So let me echo Nicole and Robbie's sentiment about the powerful night we had at Champaign County Board. I should also say that the County Board did approve funding to support this work through their ARPA funds, and we're tremendously grateful for that, because this work is really critical. As I've began to learn more and more about the needs of our veteran populations, we didn't give the data like we did last time around the number of homeless members that are veterans, those struggling with substance abuse issues, and I shared this, I think, that night as a county board meeting, but what, I just realize often as we talk about these subjects and topics, my ignorance to them. And Robbie and I were talking right after the 4th of July, and he said something to me and, just really registered. And he said, I'm so glad the 4th of July is over. And so while we celebrate the fireworks and the booms and the sounds, how much of a trigger that can be for someone who's been in war. We're in war all across the world right now. And so our race relations group and TRI and the work that we're doing around trauma, we want to incorporate this work. So we don't want to do our trauma work over here and then we want this to be a community inclusive approach to addressing trauma, mental health needs and supports, and make sure our veterans are included in that. So I know that Carol Ammon's office is doing something around Veterans Day, and then we're going to really be promoting this event, this training, and really helping support the Stop the Violence group promote this work. So let's give them one more round of applause. All right, so a big part of our meetings, of course, is our partnership with Law Enforcement Coalition. So we want our law enforcement leadership to come up at this point and provide your monthly updates. Chief Boone made it in. All right. Chief, come on, you gotta come over this way, man. Yeah. We introduced Chief Boone at the August meeting, I believe, and now they're making you, they're making you go first.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to give you the crime stats for the city of Urbana year to date. Now, when I say year to date, I'm speaking from the beginning of the year to today's date. So violent crime, part 1 crime, homicides, robbery, things of that nature are down by 3%. However, we have an issue with domestics. We're starting to be very robust in how we collect data, and the data does not lie. And I'll speak more to that as I go on. With respect to property crime, we're down 4% as well. However, we still have an issue with BMVs, and we're starting to educate the community regarding such. A lot of these issues are surrounding folks leaving their vehicles unlocked. So we're starting to be very surgical in how we go about educating folks to lock your vehicles up. We're starting to develop partnerships with apartment complexes so that all receive the same message at the same time. And total crime is down 3%. Total crime is a combination of violent and property crime crime, which gives you a reduction of 3%. Now, our last shooting was 18 days ago. With respect to our shootings, our clearance rate for shootings with injuries is 78%. It's one thing to report on shootings, it's another to say someone has been held accountable. With respect to homicides, our shooting clearance rate is 100%. I think that sends a message: if you pull the trigger, you're going to be held accountable in Urbana. We do a good job in identifying the end user, the one that pulled the trigger. Not so good in determining how 11-year-old get that kind of ammunition and weaponry. We got to do a better job of that. That could be a bit political, but I recognize it. I want to encourage you all November 6th to look at City Council. My staff and I will be presenting a public safety presentation. We're going to talk about crime and how we go about managing crime and deploying resources. In addition to that, I'm going to give you a more robust education on gun violence in Urbana with respect to demographics, the where, the who, the why, and how we're going to address it. We're also going to talk about our new initiatives to include technology, but more importantly, how we're going to connect with the community. I think that's important. In law enforcement, we do a very good job with the nuts and bolts of arrest, investigations. We certainly can improve over here with community relations. I can tell you from experience it requires both with the same intensity. Any questions? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Didn't expect a response, so thank you. We are closely watching the events in Israel and Gaza as they're hitting close to the home with a lot of our students who are either from those regions or identify with those regions. Multiple people throughout the campus community have expressed concern about the safety. We are not aware of any imminent threat of violence to our local community. However, we do take everything and their concerns seriously. We are providing extra patrols around key community centers, and officers have been directed to be visible and accessible to anyone who has questions. We are working with community leaders on the special events that are being organized. Our goal there is to make sure everyone's physical safety is protected and that everyone has the opportunity to engage in the First Amendment right to free expression. Another issue that I would like to speak about is preventing gun violence in the Campustown area, as it remains a major priority for us. The October 9th shots fired incident at the 200 block of East Green Street remains under investigation. This was the first reported shots fired incident in Campustown since August of 2022. UIPD has recovered 3 illegally possessed firearms in 2 separate cases in the last few days. Both of these cases occurred in the same vicinity as the October 9th shots fired incident. Patrol officers are doing extraordinary work to prevent more of these incidents. A newer initiative that we've started is our drone program. The state statute has recently changed to allow for some additional law enforcement use of drones at special events, in response to some acts of violence that occurred in the suburbs. One deadly incident was the Highland Park shooting. State law is restrictive in how we can use these, and they are only utilized for a short list of purposes like the following. Mainly limited use at special events. We use these at the football games. State law is, in response to 911 calls where we have the need to locate and get help to the victim, missing person searches, and some traffic crash/crime scene photography. The law requires us to log all flights and their purpose and report those annually. This is not a tool for randomly flying around the area and looking for criminal activity. We would need a specific reason to initiate the deployment. Overall, the goal is to detect and prevent acts of violence. October marks the 1 year for Campus Town that we took over the area, and our calls for service are up approximately 40 to 50%. Our reports that we have taken have nearly doubled. This isn't to say that we have more crime occurring, it just reflects the expansion of our footprint of the service area. Officers have been extremely busy, but also extremely productive in addressing and preventing crime. And as always, we have a great intergovernmental cooperation with our neighboring jurisdictions. Any questions?
Good afternoon. I'm going to be short and sweet. I'm just going to give the stats from the shooting incidents last month, which was only one. On September 30th at 02:51 hours, Champaign County deputies were dispatched to the 100 block of Locust Street in Ludlow for a report of an armed subject. The victim reported that he observed a male looking in vehicles. The victim confronted the male suspect, who then fled. The victim stated that while chasing the suspect shot twice at him. There are no injuries or damage reported. Evidence was collected, and at this time, no arrests have been made.
My fellow community members, hello. Let's loosen up a little bit. I'm Tim Tyler, Police Chief of Champaign, and got some great news. And I want to also advise you of a shooting incident that we had, right? So we were able to promote 4 of our fellow community members. 2 we promoted to Lieutenant Brian Maloney and also Kurt Buckley. They were promoted to Lieutenant, and Sergeant Leslie Kerr, and Sergeant Jonathan Christensen. So this promotion process is pretty complex. It's about a year long, and they were able to compete against their peers, and we were going to make sure that you have the best leaders protecting our community members. So congratulations to them. So we've had, since August 9th, we've had 9 shooting incidents. 1 where people were struck. I'm pretty sure you're all aware. One that we had at the 200 block of North Neal Street. 3 people were struck, none fatal injuries. That shooting is still under investigation. I do want to thank Crime Stopper. We've got some great intel from that, so thank you, Crime Stopper. We continue to improve. Since this time last year, we've seen our gunfire incidents reduce 45.6%, and from 2021, we're at 72.3% reduction in violent crime. As I briefed the last time, or I wasn't here, I was at military duty, we've had 5 homicides so far this year. When I first got here, we had 17 homicides in the year prior to. We had 9 last year, where 8 people were arrested and been held. This year we've had 5 homicides, and all 5 offenders are in custody. So your Champaign police continue to do the good work of the people. Also want to thank my fellow police officers. We are real big on supporting the community, all the jurisdictions. Champaign Police, Urbana, the Sheriff's Office, University of Illinois PD. We're all participating in Stuff the Squad food drive for the Eastern Illinois Food Bank. Please drop off any non-perishable food to Champaign Police first, and then you all can support them. So there will be an opportunity to drop off food on Tuesday, November 28th. And we have our donation box in the lobby of the police department all the way up to November 28th. And I know Chief Boone, love that guy. He talked about free gun lots. The Champaign Police Department, we have them. You can come claim them. We got about 300 this summer, so we still have plenty to give away. So just stop by and pick up a gun lot. Are there any questions of me? All right. Thank you so much.
Troy Daniels, Parkland Police. Next summer, we are going to be hosting the Northwestern School of Staff and Command. It's for upper command officers, a lieutenant and above. They come and they provide premier training. A lot of officers, once they get promoted to lieutenant or above, they look forward to going to Northwestern. We're going to have that training at Parkland. Many of the local agencies will be sending their command officers and their future upper command officers to that training. And we're looking forward to putting that on. It's about 10 weeks, 2 weeks on for 5 months in a row. So looking forward to that. There's been a lot going on in the world. Tracy mentioned that here as far as active shooters go, and also throughout our country. We mentioned this before. In the next 10 months, there's going to be several training exercises, some small, some very major, where the local agencies work together, as well as the fire departments and ambulance services, to make sure that we're even better prepared than we currently are. Just wanted to make sure, and we'll touch base as time goes on and give you some more information on that. Registration for spring classes is beginning in the next couple weeks at Parkland. We have a SWIFT program. I mentioned this before. If you have anyone who's struggling in any of your organizations, send them to Parkland. We've got GED classes. We've got everything up. We'll even pay some kids to come to school. So SWIFT program, and also the registration for just our normal classes for spring is starting. There is the potential, this is tentatively, that we could have the trunk or treat event also at Parkland on October 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. For those that were here last year, there was like 1,000 kids, literally. We got swamped. Many people were bringing their kids there. I know there's some local organizations that are trying to get this together, but we are short of some funding, and so we'll probably be reaching out to a number of organizations to ask. We're trying to raise about $5,000. It takes a lot to get the insurance, to get the music, to get the candy for this event. So if there are organizations that have extra funding, i.e. the Champaign, City of Champaign, please reach out to me and we'll definitely be talking. Sergeant Champaign Penland introduced herself earlier today. She's also a field training instructor. She invited our newest recruit, Eric Combs, if you would please stand up. Eric's one of our new officers. We always bring our new officers to this event because we want to make sure our officers know that there are a lot of good community members that are trying to make the quality of life of everyone better. Eric has been around town for a long time. He was one of the coaches for Jefferson Middle School archery team that went year after year after year after year after year without ever being defeated, and they were the state champions for like 6-7 years in a row. One of my son was also on his team and benefited from his coaching. So this is a man who's given to the community, given to kids, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. So Eric, thank you for serving with our department, and thank you for coming today.
All right, so we're going to bring Dr. James Harden up from Unit 4 Schools. Come on.
Good afternoon. All right. Thank you guys so much for having me again. I feel like every October I have the pleasure of talking to you all about school attendance. Right. Yeah. Thank you. So I always start with some type of information, a little bit of a pop quiz, and I'm going to do that again. Some of you guys have seen this a couple times, so there should be some people who get a 100% on this quiz. If this is your first or second time, I will excuse you if you do not get a 100%, but next year, know that we'll be taking grades and we'll be mailing it home to your parents. Okay? So, with that said, school attendance. School attendance is no doubt the #1 predictor of success. We know that we have a good curriculum, we know we have good teachers, we know we have good families, we know that everything is really, really good. However, when the students are not in place to receive the curriculum, it has a tremendous impact on them academically, socially, emotionally, and longitudinally, right? As they move forward, growing up, it impacts them tremendously, more than you could ever imagine. So, let's talk a little bit. So, a couple things I want you to know. Attendance, again, is one of the factors that determines school funding, right? Did you guys know that? Yeah? All right, okay. Work with me, guys. Okay, student attendance is one of the factors that's being used to determine schools' summative designation. What the summative designation is, it's the report card. It's what the community sees on the internet that tells the community members, present and those looking from other places, it tells them what to think about our schools. Now, there are other factors that go into place, but again, most of that is determined or directly impacted by our student attendance. And you know this as well as I know this. People do not buy houses, they buy schools. Thank you for the amen in the back. People do not buy houses, they buy school districts, and they buy schools. One of the greatest ways to even increase your property value is your participation in the academic process of your public schools. School attendance is a good place to start. Now, how does this impact you, James? I don't have kids in school, James. I'm too young, James. My kids are grown and I'm grandparent. I'm a business owner. Even talking with your employees, talking with your colleagues and constituents, talking with anyone you come, talking to your parishioners, talking to the people that attend the Moose Elk Lodge with your wherever, talking with everyone possible about school attendance is where we have to start. We have to start at the granular, most organic level. Chief, one of you chiefs, wonderful chiefs, what time did that issue happen a few weeks ago? 3 o'clock? Where should those young people have been? School. Right? School. When I dig through, often when things happen, and I dig through the papers or when I dig through other information, I always, I have data on students that goes back. So I kind of pull up names and I realize so many of our students who have been on the wrong side of things, on the wrong side of the law, on the wrong side of Champaign, Urbana, often it's very predictable by their school attendance. Let me keep going because Tracy's giving me the eye. So there is a direct correlation between attendance and property value. There's a correlation between student involvement and their involvement in local crime. Now it's time for the test. Thumbs up is true, thumbs down is false. Okay? Here's your quick first pre-test. This is? Right, very good. How about this one? All right, let's roll. You guys like the honors, like the AP class or something. Very impressive. Here we go. Champaign Unit 4 has an average daily attendance of 90%. You charlatans. Well, someone, what is it then? Okay, let's play higher or lower. Higher than 90%. Lower than 90%. Okay, I love you all dearly. Currently, we are right about 90%. We have been working very hard. When I say we, I mean our entire school district. I am not talking about me. I'm talking everyone from our teachers, our administrators, our student support advocates, our parents. I mean, we have done some really cool things and working hard to get children in school. But not just here, because this is a community issue. So thank you all for the work that you've done over the past few years to help. Now, that is our average daily attendance, but there are some other factors that go into place that, become a little more gloomy, like our chronic absenteeism and truancy rate. We still have a very, very, very high, very, very, very high chronic absenteeism and truancy rate. Those are defined by the state of Illinois, one being a student that has missed 10% of the school year, the other is a percentage of students that have missed 5% of the school year for any reason. Okay, so missing school only impacts low-income families. False. I don't care how much money you have. If you don't come to school, it's going to have an impact on you academically and socially, emotionally. Children love school. That's where their friends are. That's where the action is. Okay? They love school. Let's keep going. Missing 2 days per month reduces a student's chance of going to college by almost 25%. That's true. Yeah. 2 days a month. Let's go with 2 days a month. 2 days a month is about 18 days over the course of a school year. That is chronically truant. If you miss 2 days a month from your job, you probably wouldn't have that job the following year. Okay? So, 2 days per month. Just think, they're missing about 10% of instruction. It's going to have a negative impact on them. Let's keep rolling. Family vacation counts as an excused absence. Absolutely not. But we understand that families are going to take vacations. We get that. Right? We understand that Disney is cheap this time of year, and it's hey, some of y'all have called me in this room today. Right? We also know that sometimes students need a mental health day. When I was a kid in the 1800s, there was this wonderful movie called Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Right? And we can laugh at it now and we think about that movie, but honestly, that student needed a mental health break. That's what it was really about. And we've all done this before. We've all needed mental health breaks. Students need those too, and the state of Illinois have factored those in. Students are given 5 mental health days. After 3 consecutive, the school district has to contact the family to see, hey, is that student okay? What's going on? That kind of thing. Are there services we can refer you to, or some things we can help you with? However, we also are considering students need their braces tightened, and they need all kinds of different things. You know, they get sick or what have you. And for that reason, this year, I can speak for Champaign Unit 4 School District, we have, starting next week, actually kind of tomorrow if you're a student, our students are out of school for the next week. Actually, they're off Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? This is our fall break, very similar to spring break. This gives families and students chances to reset their mental clocks, to get their braces tightened, to do whatever it is, their physicals, whatever. Please, if you know anyone, please have them take advantage of this. I believe that other school districts doing the same thing. Anybody from there? Okay, yeah. The other school district across Wright Street is doing the same thing, which is really, really good. What we're honestly doing, I'll talk about this in a minute, we are reimagining school because we have to. We have to reimagine how we do school. Okay, let's keep rolling. Okay, right, yeah, this is what you're thinking. Sure, James, but what does the data say? I'm going to get into a little bit of data, and Bev, I was so thinking about you. Here's why. 1,000%. If you have spent 8 minutes with Bev Baker, you know she's going to say the words pre-K. And it's absolutely amazing that you are so committed, that's where your heart is, and I love that about you. But this is what we know. So we're looking at letter recognition and math scores. When students miss school, it's hard for me to point. I wish I had a pointer, but that's okay. When students miss school, what you see at the top, the green triangles, those are students with some prior skill. When that middle section is students with average skills, and then students with lower skills, walking into pre-K. You can see from this that missing school starts to have a negative impact, and it disproportionately or disparately impacts our students who come in with lower skills. The poor get poorer, right? In both, especially, look at that, letter recognition, which is literacy. Look at how steep that blue line is. That widens the gap. Math is a little bit different. It's not as steep, you know. I mean, math is a little bit different. Math is very foundational, and we know that when students miss school, especially math, it's hard to go back, and if you can't multiply, you have a problem with addition, chances are. So let me keep rolling. Here's a second one, specific to pre-K. Look at this. If your student is chronically absent in pre-K, you can start to see a gap. But by the time that student gets to second grade, look at that gap. And it only gets worse. I was doing some attendance work in the school today, and we realized that it was pretty predictable when we looked at a student in the 5th grade, and he's only in school 50% of the time. We kept going back and back and back and back and back, all the way to pre-K, and that student was only attending about 40% of the time pre-K. Right now, here's what hurts my heart. I can probably guess with 100% accuracy that student's potential to graduate high school. And if I don't do anything about it, shame on me. Okay, so what are we doing about it? Glad you asked. So we started something really cool just last week. Anybody have children in Champaign Unit 4? Okay, so Thursday at 3 o'clock, you got a text message, didn't you? It was pretty cool. The text message was a postcard saying, your student, hooray, your student has been here every day, good job. Or, hey, we need your help getting your student to school. They've missed 4 days this year already. We are sending those out the last Thursday of every month at 3 o'clock. We've had some tremendous gains and some great conversations from parents about just sending postcards out. We are also, and these were text messages, we also are very appreciative to the coalition. We're appreciative to the City of Champaign and other partners as we are continuing to partner on doing some citywide campaigns. Pretty soon here you will see buses with Unit 4 or attendance information on it, as well as billboards with some of the information. And again, we are very appreciative to City and other partners that have bridged some gaps, financial and just some other messaging. Thank you guys so much for that. The other thing is, we put student support advocates in every school. We used to have only, goodness, two full-time employees that worked in truancy, with a truancy rate of almost 40%. We had 2 people. Now we have a student support advocate in every building, and one of their main duties is to do attendance, to work with the attendance secretaries, to contact families, to do home visits, and all those other kind of things. We have really gone deep and heavy into professional development and training, using Attendance Works and other things, and other websites and such, to make sure that we... This didn't get awkward at all. Okay. And more importantly, the most important thing is we have to reimagine how we do school, every bit of school. That includes how we assign students to school, how we transport students to school, what is day school, what is night school, what is weekend school, even everything is up to talk about. And we really need your support in having some of these conversations with us, okay? So as we reach out with different committees, please work with us as best as possible, because this is a community issue and we can't solve it without you, okay? So, together we can do it. School attendance is our issue. And it's ours to fix. Kids love being in school. This here might be the least important slide, but it's super important. We are hiring, y'all. We need help. And I bet everyone would say the same thing for their organization. But if you want, just contact us and we will happily talk to you or someone you know about being a teacher or some type of support staff. And that is that. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Tracy, for having me. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime at the school district.
All right, thanks, James. He announced, we're going to be launching this community-wide campaign for attendance through our coalition partnership. So, system. We're going to bring up Julie Cartel.
Good afternoon, my name is Julie Cartel, and I work for the Community and Residential Services Authority. I've lived in this community and worked in this community for 30 years prior to coming to CRSA, and I worked in mental health as a therapist and then as a director. But now for the past 3.5 years, I've been working with the Community and Residential Services Authority. This is an agency that actually has been around since 1985, although many, many people across Illinois don't know about this agency or what we do. While our administrative offices are located in Springfield, I work in central Illinois area. I work out of my office in Champaign. We work with families who have students who have severe mental health or behavioral challenges. And I like to just say that we are systems navigators. Everything that we do with families, we do for free. And we help try and navigate with them through the various systems, including school, mental health, developmental disabilities, juvenile justice, community resources, whatever they may be having challenges with trying to figure out how to get their student connected to the services and supports they need, we work alongside them to try and help them. There's a whole list of things that we do, but two of the areas that we are most involved in is we work with families who are really concerned about their students' performance in school. They may not understand the whole IEP process, they may not understand how to even navigate that, what their rights are, how to get an evaluation, should they be looking at a 504. So we can attend those meetings with parents, we can support them through that process, make sure they understand what their rights are, help them in those meetings, because those meetings can be intimidating to parents. Special education law is really confusing. I still have a lot to learn in that area. And so that's one of the things that we get requests for all the time is just help me understand how I can get more supports in school for my student or how I can even begin to request supports. We also get requests from parents a lot of times, unfortunately, at the very tail end when they have tried everything to try and find the supports for their student to try and help them be successful at home and in school and in the community. And they are looking at perhaps trying to have their child placed into a residential facility because their student is just at that level of needing pretty intensive supports. And so we help families understand that process. We help them understand the funding that's available for them to apply for, how they apply for it, who else can support them through that process. Certainly what we want to do is make sure they're connected to any of the services and supports within their community. Anytime you keep your child at home and in your community and get the supports there, that's what we want to try and help them do. And so I try and be here at least once a year to remind people. We cover the entire state of Illinois. I have the central region, so I have about 35 counties that I cover. And we're here to help families. I have lots of resources on the back table, including my card. So if you have more questions, want to know more about what we do, or if you have a parent that you want to refer to us, I'm happy to talk with anyone to help figure out if there's anything that we can do to help them. We get calls from social workers, school social workers, deans, hospitals. So we'll work with anyone who feels like they can't quite find the resources that are available for their student. Any questions? Yeah. Yes, it's my name of the organization is Community and Residential Services Authority. We refer to it as CRSA, and there is a bunch of things you can pick up on the back table, how to reach us, what our email and website is. I'll hang around later too if people have questions later on. Thank you.
All right, come on up, Deb. We'll talk about.
All right, hi everybody. I have a unique opportunity to share with all of you. It's a grant opportunity that's coming from the Campus Community Compact. Hopefully by now you've all heard about the compact and maybe had the opportunity to attend the convening that was held in June right out here, and with a barbecue cookout party up at Hessel Park. And then there was also a convening at the end of September on campus as well. So hopefully you've heard about it. But what we have is a community grant opportunity, and there are flyers on the back table that will give you all the information that I'm going to cover today. It's called Building Beyond the Barriers. And the purpose is to invest in partnerships that accelerate social justice in Champaign County. There will be grants made available for eligible projects within Champaign County that support social justice progress in one of the 6 compact focus areas. And those focus areas include accessible technology, community health, wellness, and resilience, community relations, economic development, inclusive education, workforce development. And the grants will be, there's a total of $100,000 available for this round. So the grant amounts will range between $10,000 and $30,000. It is open to teams of campus and community partners. The applications opened September 28th. They closed November 17th. The purpose is to connect project teams with resources and tools to help accomplish project goals. We want to invest in campus community relationships and build trusting relationships that enhance collaborative work between campus and community partners. And we want to increase opportunities for campus and community members to engage and collaborate in ways to accelerate social justice in Champaign County. The teams have to have at least one representative from campus and one from community. A campus liaison can be any faculty or staff member. Students or student organizations cannot serve as the campus partner. And the project has to take place within Champaign County with priority given to Champaign, Urbana, and Rantoul. And again, they have to focus on one of those 6 focus areas. There'll be an online, a Zoom information session that you can register for on the flyer. That will be October 16th, so next week. Those will also be recorded, so if you can't attend that, you can always go to the website, which is also on the flyer, and view those to get more information. So it's really a unique opportunity to connect campus and community all around the purpose and the focus of accelerating social justice here in the area. If you don't already have a campus or community partnership that can get ramped up in time to meet the timeline of this application, we do anticipate another application opening in 2024 at some point. So you can reach out and we can help you make some of those connections with a campus partner, or if you're a campus partner, we can help you make a connection with a community partner. So again, flyer at the back will give you all the information you need. I just wanted to take a minute to highlight it. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to bring down Lieutenant Harold up to talk about our wonderful conference we held a couple of weeks ago out at Parkland College, Black Mental Health and Wellness Conference.
Good afternoon. I have a really nice presentation prepared for you, but I'm not going to go over that because it's getting late and I don't want to go beyond your time. So I'm going to just kind of summarize. How many of you came to the Black Mental Health and Wellness Conferences? Okay, good number. Thank you so much. And I just want to summarize a little bit what happened. First of all, we had an amazing turnout. We prepared for 200. We had 180 register, which is great. Applause, please. Thank you. And there were people from all over the community who had come out of town, and we had resource tables. We invited 17, 16 showed up, so I think that was successful as well. Our speakers, we had a dynamic speaker. Her name was Farah Harris. She wrote a book, The Color of Emotional Intelligence. She was dynamic. If you heard her, then I'm sure you would agree. She sold her books and she sold out, so we're really pleased to be able to do that. We also gave away 10 copies of her books. If you've ever been to anything that I've planned, you know I do believe in giveaways. And I want to talk just a little bit about this little plant. It's beautiful. It is fake, but it's still beautiful. I went to Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center. Dr. Janice Mitchell is the executive director, and Dream, Tracy Dace, is the executive director. And I gave the students a little bit of presentation about mental wellness, and just being healthy. And I asked them to kind of write on these plants. We bought these plants, we took them out and had markers. And I said to them, write on here what you would look like, what your life would be like, what you could dream to be if you felt good about yourself, if you felt whole and healthy. And they wrote things like, I can be anything in life. I can be successful. This one did an acronym of successful. It's kind of long, and some of it I know what he meant. It didn't kind of make sense, but I understood what he said. The most poignant thing that I got out of that, though, is one of the pots had broken, and so I took it aside. I said, well, we're not going to use this one. And so one of the young men said, I want to use that, because I want to write on here, this gets a little emotional, that even though I can be broken, I can't be stopped. And I thought that was just so powerful. So we gave these away at the end. And I just want to thank so many people. I certainly won't go into names or organizations, but so many people jumped in. Tracy, I want to thank you for all your support. I came with this idea to the coalition. He talked to me a little bit about it. He said, well, let's do this. Mike Hill was wonderful, and just the vendors, the speakers were fantastic. If you've ever gone to a conference, two things really stand out, whether it's really organized or not, and the content. And our speakers were absolutely incredible. I can't thank them enough. We really don't understand the kind of richness that we have, the talent that we have in this community, especially among our Black professionals. So many of them have contacted me and thanked me for the opportunity to showcase their talent and to give back to the community. So that's just a couple of them, and again, I won't go over that. I've talked a lot over the months, but it came to fruition, and I'm just so grateful and thankful.
So certainly want to thank Donna for her leadership and then our Race Relations Committee. So we meet the third Monday of each month to talk about our community impact and our ability to address race. We are always looking for anyone who wants to roll up their sleeves to work on this most difficult subject and topic. And part of the challenge that we have is there's no spaces to talk about race, right? And so it's the eyesore on our world, on our community, and we have to keep this at the forefront of all of what we're doing. So, yeah, just thanks again. Let's do another round of applause. So we are gathering, we'll have Donna back here in the next month or two. We are gathering evaluation data. We've got some wonderful photos and things of that nature to capture the conference, and so, yeah, there we go. All right, so many of you are aware of our News, Brews, and Beats series. These are our panel discussions on topics that take place. Our next one will be October 26th. We'll be doing this at the WILL panel. We're going to be focused on minority women-owned business, MBE, WBE work, and we've got Matthew Simpson coming in from state, and we got a really dynamic Trisha T, founder, entrepreneur. She's on Danville City Council, so we're going to be, the audience will be full of entrepreneurs and really having those important, tough conversations about minority and women-owned business, development, growth, creating opportunities, access, breaking through the barriers, addressing this issue around resources and support. All right, so those of you here for the first time, I hope you come back. Each month is different. It is not too often that we have the same topics each month, so thank you everyone for all that you do to make our community be the best that it can be. Peace and love to you all.